Hey everyone, AD here. Welcome back to another Kenshi devlog for Kenshi the Last Skeleton, an animated film I'm currently working on based on the Kenshi universe. I'm working on a new scene for my film, and it takes place in Black Scratch, which is home of the Tech Hunters and also the Great Library, which is an important piece to this film. And so what I wanted to show you guys is how I actually import Kenshi buildings into Blender and then export them out into my animation software to try and recreate the town of Black Scratch to the best that I can. It's not going to be an exact one-to-one recreation in the game, but it will have, some features that will allow you to associate, hopefully, the town with the game itself. So there will be some similarities, and that's my goal. So the first thing we need to do is actually go to the Kenshi website and grab the modders pack with the Blender compatibility. You're going to download the Blender templates and also download the Blender plugin. This will allow you to basically import the Kenshi objects and meshes so that you can then export them out after you texture them. So once you get these downloaded and installed, you're going to open up Blender. You're going to go to File and then Import, and then you should see the Kenshi Ogre.mesh plugin here, where you can then import Kenshi meshes. So now what you need to do is find your Kenshi Steam folder. So we're going to go to my E drive, Steam library, Steam apps, Common, let's see, Kenshi, and then you're going to want the data folder. And then within the data folder, you've got tons of stuff here. You've got buildings, characters, there's a lot of stuff in here. Meshes, look, there's all kinds of things. So what you want to do is if you're looking for something in particular, then what you need to do is actually use the Kenshi Forgotten Construction Set editor, and that will help you find what you're looking for. So let's go ahead and open that up. Let's open up the editor here, and I'm just going to use any sort of mod that I have created here. I got a bunch, and load that up. All right, so as you can see with the editor, now we have buildings, items, and so forth. So let's just start off easy here. Let's take a look at some of the walls. All right, so if we go in here to walls, you can see all the different level of walls that are in the Kenshi game itself. I think Black Scratch actually uses a level 4 wall. So we're going to open up the level 4 defensive wall here. And you can see on the right that we've got, let's see, parts right here where it says wall level 04. So we're going to open that up. And this will show you the location of where the mesh is and also the material. So this shows us where it is, but let's load up the material as well. This is showing us where the material is. So the first thing we need to do is open up the mesh first of all. So right here it says data, buildings, walls, wall 4 mesh. So let's go back to Blender. We're going to go into data, walls, or data, building, walls, and then we're going to look for wall 4 mesh. Here it is. So let's go ahead and import that. All right, so the wall has been imported. Here it is. And there we go. We've got our wall. And now what we can do is we can go to shading, and as you can see, there is no texture applied to this wall. So anything that you import is not going to have any textures, so we need to add them. So what you need to do is click over here on this little texture button, materials properties over here, this little world globe, go to new, and it's going to apply a basic texture. What we're going to do is go down to base color, which is right here. Click on the little button, go to image texture, and it's going to add an image texture property over here. From there, we're going to click open, and let's go back to the construction editor. And as you can see here, we're looking for the material. So it said the texture map is data, buildings, walls, wall 4 diffuse. So let's go back to Blender. let's see, I've got some of my locations saved here. Walls. We're going to look for wall 4 diffuse right there. And then we're going to apply that. So now the wall is using the wall 4 diffuse texture. And as you can see, now it's got some texture to it. Now we can make this pop out even more in Blender. You can add some other stuff to make it look a lot more detailed. But once we import this into my animation software, it's going to look a lot more detailed than it does now. It's just the way that it is currently. So with Blender, you can do a lot more stuff, with textures. But for right now, this just kind of gives you a basic overview of what we're doing. So now that we've got the wall, we're done. That's it. We don't need to do anything else. Now, for me, when I'm importing stuff into my animation software, texturing or polygon count is really important. You don't want to have super high poly objects as much as possible, especially objects that are in the very background. So one thing that you can do if you have a project where you need to lower the polygon count in Blender, or you're exporting out of Blender, what you can do is go to the little maintenance icon here and then go to add modifier, and then you can click on decimate. All right, so that adds a decimate polygon option here. And as you can see, the polygon count is 7,365 for this entire wall. So if we want to reduce the polygon count, we can just drag the slider down and look at what happens to the wall. So as you reduce the polys, it starts to deteriorate the wall. But you can kind of get it to where, you can't notice, especially if you're going to have walls in the very far background of a town. You can reduce the poly count quite a bit because you're not going to have any close-up shots. Obviously, you can see these little triangles and stuff that are happening as we decimate the walls. We don't want this on a close-up shot. Obviously, you can also see the connection up here between the railings or whatever, the overhead part of the turret section get ruined. So, but you can kind of play around with it and reduce the polygon count. So that way, you don't have a super high polygon count. And especially if we're making a ton of walls and we're duplicating these walls a bunch of times, the polygon count is going to go up a lot, especially if they're at 7,000. So I think I lowered it to, 2,500 or something like that for the exterior walls that aren't in the main shots. So anyway, let's go ahead and just export that. And let's go File, Export, and we're going to export it as an FBX. And let's see, just put that somewhere. And I'll just save that in there. My Blender projects, example wall. Okay. Now, the next thing that I need to do is I'm going to open up 3D Exchange, which is my software that I use to, it's kind of like a meteor, an in-between software that you can import stuff to get it ready to import into IClone. So you can't just import from Blender to IClone. You have to import into 3D Exchange first. So I'm going to open up this object, wherever it was, example wall. Let's go ahead and import this. And here's my wall. And as you can see, the textures look a little strange. But for the most part, that's because we decimated it. And you can see the visible face count is 2,600 polygons. So that's good. Now, one thing is that anything I import in here usually ends up being super large, as you can see. So we're going to shrink this wall down so that is actually to scale. And scaling is kind of hard, but basically I'm just going to use this little person. This is kind of like a little thing you can add to show like the height of a normal sized person. And so that kind of looks pretty good. I mean, we can always increase the size later, but we're going to keep it like that for now. So that's pretty much it. So now we've got the wall in there and we've got its size. So now we can export from here, and I can export this right into IClone. Now with IClone loaded up, I can go into my content and let's see, props, custom, props. And I can find it in here. I've got a bunch of stuff, kind of a mess. Let's see, where's my example wall? Here's my example wall right here. And we can drag this in. And here is our wall, right? Directly exported out from Kenshi, basically. And there we go. And the other cool thing is, like, I can add different shaders to it. So right now it's a PBR shader, but I can add a different shader to it and change the entire look, just with a click of a button. Basically, this digital human shader is really good, and as you can see, there's quite a few older shaders as well, but mostly you want this one's kind of like a nice glare to it, but you want the newer and improved shaders that the company always releases. So, you know, and then I can play around with the coloring and textures and all that stuff inside the program as well. But what we can do then is duplicate this, and now I can duplicate the walls a bunch of times, and I can start building, you know, the exterior walls to the town itself. So that's just one object. Let's go back to Blender and try something else. All right, so let's go to a new one here, and let's see. Let's see if we can get a building. So we'll go back over here to import, and let's go to buildings. Let's go to storm buildings. And if we go back to the construction editor, let's take a look at, let's try one of the, let's just try the default storm house. So as you can see here, for the default storm house building, this has a lot more parts to it. You've got interior parts and also exterior parts, and each part is different. Like, some of these go to different materials and they're in different locations. So what we need to do is kind of go through each one and then import every piece to complete the entire building. So let's go ahead and do that. So Stormhouse 01 base, that is the Stormhouse 01 exterior base. So Stormhouse 01 exterior base right here, and that pulls that in. So you can see that's the base of the Stormhouse. All right, so then we'll go, let's see, extras. We've got Stormhouse 01 extras. So we'll go down here to Stormhouse 01 extras dot mesh, and that's going to add that piece. And so that's all we do, is we keep going through the editor, looking at where the locations are for everything, and basically importing the entire building itself. So you can see here now we've got another part here, exterior new mesh, and that puts in the top part of the building. And so yeah, we're just going to go through and get the building imported here. And this is what it will look like once you finish. So I've already got this textured, but you can see I've added all the different pieces, and went ahead and added the textures to it, and we've got our entire building. Now, the one thing you can do is add a decimation. You can decimate each part, each object. So as you can see here, like on the interior part of the building, I went ahead and decimated some of these things, some of these that you can't really tell, to reduce the polygon count. So like the stairs in the background, I reduced the polygon count to about 64%. So, you know, you can't see the stairs, and I'm not going to have an interior shot or anything like that. So there's no point in having those at full polygon count. All right, now that we have the Stormhouse building complete over here in Blender, we can go back to my 3D Exchange program, open up the building where I have it saved, and go ahead and import, and there is our building fully textured. Now the building gets imported again very large, so we're going to resize it and scale it down. Trying to make it, fit proportionately here. Let's see, where's our person? Move the building over a little bit. That's still too big, so let's shrink it down a little bit. The scaling is always hard to get. I don't always get everything to scale. It's really hard to determine, but you just kind of have to look at it and be like, okay, this looks big enough. Yeah, that looks about right, maybe. But anyway, we'll go ahead and export this building out and see what it looks like in iClone. That's pretty much all we have to do here is just resize things and then export them in. All right, so we'll drag our storm house building in, and there we go. Now we've got a building along with the walls, and now we've got a couple more Kenshi assets already in here, and we can also apply the same shader to the entire building and change it from PBR to digital human, which kind of makes everything look a little bit better. As you can see, a little bit more high quality. And so now we've got our building, and this is basically all I did is I went through and I looked at all of the buildings in Black Scratch, and I basically imported them into Blender, exported them out after they were textured, and I've got everything that I need pretty much that I wanted in here. So I've got all kinds of other things. I've got crossbow turrets. As you can see, there's a crossbow turret. Got a water tower. I've got some of the other Kenshi buildings like the Y House, as you can see. We've got the Storm Shack. I also have the mechanical signs. I went ahead and exported the signs as well, so we can, in my scene that I have, I'll be able to attach the signs to the buildings, kind of similar. So that looks really good. And of course, we'll change the shaders and make them pop out even more, as you can see. And this is just the very beginning. Of course, I've got to work on the ground, adding all the ground and stuff, and filling out the scene with the background and everything. So let's actually go ahead and go to a little bit further along, and I'll show you what I've actually done so far with Black Scratch. All right, welcome to Black Scratch. So as you can see, I've kind of recreated the entire town. Recreated everything that I could. I mean, I'm missing some props and stuff, but I didn't want to spend too much time putting props and things. As you can see, I've got the water tower. I've got the fans, or the windmills rather, and this very large object here that is really distinctive to make Black Scratch what it is. Of course, we've got the great library of over here, and this is actually scene 2. Scene 1 is actually going to take place inside the library in a different set. But basically, I've added some of these turrets with these guards on top. So as you can see, I've kind of added a 3D composite in the background of actual in-game footage of Kenshi. Basically what I did is I recorded in-game footage, and as you can see, I recorded 360 degrees around Black Scratch in the game, and I basically created I dragged that footage in and created a basic kind of like a background layer with it. And so anywhere there's a camera, I basically position the background in behind everything so that it looks like it's from Kenshi. Now I still got to play around with it some, but as you can see, if I play through some of this, you can see that it's actually an animated background. So you can see the bird flying in the back. You can see the dust going. So there's actually, it is actually animated. Every part of it is animated, which is really cool. So when I have an actual shot, I'll just position everything in where it needs to go. and you won't be able to really tell. In theory, once I get it fixed enough so that it doesn't look fake, um, I'll try to get it as real as I can, so it actually looks like the background is a part of the foreground. But it looks pretty cool. Still some stuff I gotta fix, like some of the terrain, of course. There's some terrain clipping, but it actually looks pretty sweet. And I kind of made textured some of this terrain and made it look similar to how it does in game. It's got kind of like a pinkish or a purplish rock texture to it with some stone, so looks pretty neat. And there's a lot of stuff happening in this scene. I don't want to explain it because I don't want to spoil anything. Of course, all my Patreon subscribers get access to all of the scenes that I complete and then some. So if you want to see more of what I'm working on with this film, feel free to check me out on Patreon. That's where I basically post all of the stuff that I'm not showing to the public. So if you want to see actual full complete scenes as I complete them, that's where you'll be able to do it. Of course, a lot of the scenes don't have any audio or anything. I am going to have to go back and do all of that at the end once I finish this film, and that's going to be a really hard part to do, as well as adding audio and sound effects to everything. But as you can see, it looks pretty sweet. I mean, if you come down from here and you get the angle right, you can't really tell that it isn't the background. So I can create these like nice panning motions, and you can see animated background happening. And I've got the windmills animating as well. But you can see in the back there's the dust storm going through. And I basically just took screenshots of... Got some black scratch here. Just took some screenshots of what it looks like in game. So you can see the platform. This is kind of what it looks like. So if you take a look at IClone, let me just show you that angle. I'll turn off the lighting so you can see it a little bit better. But yeah, you can see all the buildings there, and then if I go to the image, you can see we got the Great Library, we've got this bug house, so we've got the Great Library, bug house. I added this building, it's kind of like a barn, but we got this other building here. So a lot of these things are missing props. Maybe I'll go ahead and add some stuff on top of those. I haven't really finished this scene yet, but as you can see, there's this building over here, the bar. I've got the bar over here, and everything looks pretty exact. It's just missing more of the props more than anything. And I even put the bar sign here, so you can see it says bar. That's really cool. I got some of the other signs here as well. And so basically I just recreated black scratch in the program, and I'll be able to animate all of my characters and stuff that I've got going on down there. I don't really want to show you guys that yet. I'm still working on it. But overall, that's basically how I've imported Kenshi buildings into the software, and am now creating a scene with it. So hope you guys enjoyed this little tutorial. If you want to see more stuff from me, let me know. Feel free to let me know in the comments what you thought, and I'll see you guys again in the next one. Take care.